Now with these marks, we'll take our steel angle here, just draw a line. And since this tube is it's about 3.5 inches on each side of that centering wing, we want the rivets to be in the center of that. So we'll take our ruler and mark 1 3/4 inches up from the bottom edge. Put two pieces together, and just so they stay together and they don't shift when you are drilling, we're going to actually masking tape them together. Now it doesn't shift. For the rivets, we'll use a 5/16 or 5/32 inch drill bit. Make sure it's going the right way. And we'll just drill through both layers of the tube. Now that they're drilled, we should clean them up a bit. We don't like all the burrs that are on the edges. Before you shift the tube around, you'll want to make a witness mark so you know exactly how everything lines up again. So then you would just line up these two marks here, and your rivet holes will be lined up once again. Pop that apart. To kind of keep down on some of those paper burrs that pop up around the edge of the hole, put a little bit of glue down. Wipe off any excess. Then we'll take our sanding block, just sand down the parts where it pops up. Then we'll do the same on the inside. Put your finger over the hole so you can kind of feel where the sanding is happening. Then we'll actually take the bit out of the drill. Twist it around in that hole, clean it up a little bit more. Hit it again with the sanding block if you need to. Then you'll do the same thing to the interior coupler. Once those are all clean, you'll slide your two pieces back together, lining up the marks you made earlier. Then you should just be able to push the rivets in. Take them apart first. Slide first the first half, bottom half. Keep it nice and tight, then you put the top half in. And you have your rivets all set. Now that we've got the rivets in, we can drill in the hole, the vent hole for our altimeter. Here I'm using a 1/8 inch bit, 1/4 inch bit. Let's get my dimensions straight here someday. And we'll just put it right in the middle of this gap. this up, I'm going to pop this rivet out. The rivets keep this from coming apart at this point. Instead, it'll come off. The nose cone will come off. Set that aside, and we'll just clean this the same way we did with the rivet holes earlier. There you go, a nice clean hole for your altimeter vent hole. Now we can start assembling the sled. Earlier we had epoxied the eyebolts to the bulkheads, that's set, and we'll also glued the pieces of the actual sled together. Slide our 2 threaded rods in place. And to keep the sled from sliding around inside the altimeter, we've actually got a couple of nuts here that we're going to twist on. That way your electronics won't be pulled around when they're attached to charges on the bulkheads, or if you got a push button on the side, it'll stay in one spot. Put the bolts so that they're nuts so that they're mostly even. And then we'll take one of the bulkheads. It doesn't really matter which. I'm going to go with this one. Oops. Got to put the nuts on the ends here so that the bulkhead will stay put when you pull it out and you're not pulling both your bulkheads loose. Washer on each of the insides. Slide it through your upper bulkhead. Make sure there's enough room to put another nut and washer on each side. Should be good. These we won't epoxy because we actually want it to be able to take everything apart. You got that. Slide this in place. Slide on your second bulkhead. Washers and nuts. And you got your eBay assembled. You can look through this hole and align your interior sled to where your the push button would be. So, but we don't have our altimeter installed on there yet, so we'll do that at a later point. So now we'll put the eBay inside the tube, putting this on backwards. Line up the marks, reinstall your rivets. Nose cone goes on top. We've got the bottom that we finished here. Slide it, and you've got your whole rocket put together and you're ready to do your priming and painting. Now that we have our rocket all painted, we're going to go at it with sandpaper, particularly here on the nose cone where we had to rough it up a lot so the primer would stick to the plastic. I'm going to start with an 80 grit and eventually work our way up to a 400 grit wet sand. So just kind of hitting all the rough spots, and we want pretty smooth finish, and then after we're done with that, we will hit it again with the primer to replace any spots that are too thin. So let's get that started. To keep the mess down in the area, I've got a garbage bag underneath me to catch all the dust that I'm sanding off. Also, just as general safety precautions, I've got glasses on as well as a dust mask. It's going to take a lot of sanding to get this to where you want it to be, particularly on the nose cone. We used a high solids automotive paint, so it was laid on real thick, which filled in all of our sanding marks real well. And because of the paint, we'll probably only need to do one more sanding and painting coat after this. If you're using just a standard spray paint, you might have to do a few more coats than we will have to. Also, when it comes to sanding your fillets and your fins, you'll want to get a piece of foam or a sponge and wrap your sandpaper around the sponge folded in half to get that nice round corner shape on your fillets for a smooth finish. After you've done your first round of sanding, you'll want to paint it again to fill in any low spots, bumps, or the spirals that didn't get filled in with your first coat. Just kind of sand and repeat, and sand and paint again until you've got a smooth finish. The better the finish on the undercoat, the better your glossy overcoat will look. Okay, now we have our rocket painted. I'm not going to really go over how we did that. It's can be complicated sometimes. But basically we got a white undercoat and then black and gray with our decals. And since it's painted, we can get our parachutes installed. We also have our eBay here. It's filled with the electronics. We've got a Stratologger installed, set up for dual deployment, with charge caps already in place. So we're going to take our shock cord here that's mounted to the bottom half, tie a knot. I'm using a slip knot. Actually, no, we're not going to do that first. First, we need to put on the Nomex. The way we're doing this, we can just slip it on right over the shock cord. Slide it all the way down. Just keep it out of the way. Then we'll go ahead and tie the knot. And to keep that end from untying, we're going to put some masking tape around the tail to hold it in place. And I'm just going to stuff all this inside to get it out of the way. Since this is a dual deployment rocket, we have 2 parachutes, the smaller of which is the drogue. It's an 18-inch nylon parachute, so I'm just going to attach this right to that same eye bolt that we attached the shock cord to. Slip your shroud lines through here. Then just to fold the parachute nice and get it out of the way. Tuck that inside. Slide your eBay in and you've got the first half done. On the upper part we also have shock cord. Do the same thing, tie the knot. Tape it up. Now we're going to take the front end drape that through, line up your rocket to your witness mark so your rivets will go in, and we're just going to put those in real quick, or at least one to hold it in place. And again, put on your Nomex blast deflector. And this time we're going to be attaching it to the nose cone. And with this one we have a 36-inch parachute, and you attach it the same way as the first. Make sure those are tight. of the way again. There we go. Fold up the parachute so it's out of the way. Tuck it into your top portion. Slide on the nose cone and you've got your parachutes installed. Now the turret can also be flown as a single deployment. What you do in that case is you'll basically ignore this upper half. You want to switch your parachutes so you'll have your 36-inch parachute down here and either leave out or replace your 18-inch parachute up here. And then you'll tape up the nose cone so it doesn't fall out when you're flying, and you can launch it just at that. So here we are, ready to bring it out to the range and take it for a flight.
Okay, pad 18 we're going to use right in the middle there, Tim Van Milligan. Are you ready, Tim? All right, pad 18 going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch. A delayed reaction. And we've got a chute there.
Look at that! It's still going. A little potassium nitrate and sugar, and you can do that too. It may not be the fuel choice of NASA, but sugar is actually very combustible, and it's a simple propellant for Rocketeers.